Welcome back to Duckman Cycles and VW Garage. I'm your host, the Duckman. Behind me here we have Eleanore, my 1956 Beetle, who was hurricane damaged. You know the story. If you've been watching this channel for a while, you've seen that I completely rebuilt her from junk. What I need to do is I need to get that body back off of that chassis because I need to finish up that rear hatch area. And you guys have been asking for it a lot. And I've been working on a lot of other side projects recently, like the Type 3 Fastback, which it needed love. It just needed love. So whatever time that I had, I devoted to getting that car back together so I could drive it again, because this is Volkswagen driving season. The season where it's not too awfully hot, and it's a beautiful time to kick those heaters in, and they do work properly on the Type 3. I gotta say, those heaters do work quite well. They don't leak at all, and I think the temperature coming out of the dashboard was like 190 degrees. Hot as hell. Let's just say leave them on for a little while and you turn them off. Volkswagen is a very, very comfortable car to drive in the winter. But anyways, Eleanore is coming out of the garage here. I'm going to get her out of here, and I'm going to try unbolting his body and see if I can get that thing off of the pan, back up on the body dolly, and then back into the garage today before it gets dark. I've only got a couple hours to do it, and I think I can handle it. It's not too awfully hard. I've done it a million times, and you guys have seen me do it. So anyways, like, comment, subscribe, pluck that dingle bell you see down below next to the subscribe button, and we get updates every time I upload a new video. Duckman Cycles VW Garage up on the Facebook group page, and if you'd like to email me, duckmancycles@duckshit.net. Thanks very much for watching. We'll be back in a minute. Alright, we're back. It's a little windy out here today, but we're going to tear this body on off. So, if you've never removed a Volkswagen body before, one of the things you got to know is there's a ton of bolts that run along through here that all need to come out. All those bolts underneath that lip need to come out. The seats need to come out of the interior. The rear body bolts that are back here up underneath the rear wheels need to come out. It's preferable to already have your engine out. In this case, there's just a block in there that's not going to affect us any. And then up underneath the gas tank, and this one I really need to show you. Just two body bolts in here that need to come out. This one, and then this one. Once you've got those out, you need to detach your steering coupler. Make sure that any wiring that's connected to the engine is disconnected. And you can leave your brakes alone. Nothing needs to be changed on the brakes whatsoever. Alright, let's go ahead and tear this thing up. We're going to be doing a little bit of time lapse, so I hope you guys enjoy it. Okay, we've got out all the pan bolts running around there. Over here, we got to remove the seat bolts. And these are all custom installed stuff on here because these seats are actually out of a Nissan 350Z. Oh, coincidentally, there's one right there. But I got these seats for that car, but that's a long story. But we're going to take the bolts out of those. They're custom bolted in with some really, really big washers, as you can see, which holds everything together in the thin sheet metal that's in there. So yeah, if you were a little worried about safety, about stamping through the spread out surface area, actually worked out quite well for these things. Anyways, 15mm on top, 17mm on the bottom. Crank these suckers out. We're going to pull out these seats. Alright, well, we've got all them seats out of there, and I gotta admit they come out really easy. I got all the floor pan bolts unbolted. The only thing that's left is a steering column, and I gotta admit I did that in record time. That's about 20 minutes. But there's a lot to be said when the car's not all rusted, you know, like it used to be. In its previous shape, there's no way at all I would have ever been able to do that. All right, steering column is next. Got to get right in there and unbolt that guy. And there's a couple options that I have. I could undo that one bolt there, which releases the pinch on it, and I could slide the steering shaft out, or I could take two of the 4 bolts out, or all 4 of the bolts on the steering coupler right there, and get that out instead. But I think I'm going to take the easy route and remove the 1 bolt. Okay, in order to get the lift underneath this car, I've got to raise up the suspension. In the backside, well, the front side I should already say has already got air in it. I filled it up to the maximum height. That's maximum ride height right there. In the back, I'm going to have to adjust the adjusters. So if you remember last summer, down below down there in the tunnel where the transmission shift coupler lives, right there, you see those 2 spoons that are sticking up. One is a little higher than the other because I've already started to adjust them. But I need to max the height out on those so that way I can get the lift underneath the car. And that's rather critical. If I don't make that happen, it'll never fit. Therefore, can't lift the body off. I got one side currently jacked up. You can see how high it's going to sit when I get the adjuster adjusted. That's going to sit way up high. Okay, get up under there and do it. It's just a couple of Allen keys. I'm going to put it on an air ratchet and turn them. Before it was too low to the ground for me to get the air ratchet underneath it. And no, down the road, that won't be staying that way permanently. That's that noisy car again. That's the noisy car. It's quieter than it used to be. Quieter than you, and he's not driving like a maniac like he usually does. Usually goes down the road about 60 miles an hour. You know, I should talk. I did the same thing with my fastback last week, but he does it every day, except today. I couldn't get the air ratchet underneath it. I couldn't get any ratchet underneath it. And even if I could, I couldn't turn it because there wasn't enough room for my Popeye forearms. So unfortunately, that wasn't going to work underneath there. So I've got the car lifted. I'm going to put that block of wood that you see underneath it to secure it. It's the closest thing I could use to a jack stand because jack stands are just too tall for this car. That's right. You heard it here first. Jack stands are just too tall. With the way I've got the suspension set up and the maximum amount of height that it'll go to, I mean, unless I jack the car up tremendously high, yeah, jack stands are just too tall. Okay, let's go ahead and get some bolts turned, get the suspension raised up to where it needs to be, and then we're going to get that lift and raise that body. Okay, we've got everything unbolted. Suspension is at max height. Just look at the clearance underneath there. I mean, that's a lot of clearance. What's the clearance, Clarence? Yeah, check it out. I think it looks really dorky up that high. You know, roof chop monster truck never looked quite right to me. But yeah, that's maximum ride height. And I'm sure that would be great for riding, you know, let's say off-road or something. If I wanted to do something a little stupid. Who knows? I've been known to do stupid things once in a while. It's looking pretty good though. Okay. Now that we're up, we're going to get the lift, and we're going to shove that lift up under there and start pushing up this body. Ooh, I probably should take the doors off first, because if I leave the doors on, the body's going to be front heavy, and when I lift it up, it's going to want to tip. So I better take those screws out first before I do anything else. All right, that's not hard to do. Let's do that right now. We are in pretty good shape. We got the doors off, suspension lifted up, all the bolts are out from the entire body, as well as the steering shaft coupler. So we got that all disconnected. The body is ready to go. In fact, it's not very heavy. You can actually lift it just like that. But what needs to be done next, and I should have done, well, I guess I really don't need to do it, but it's recommended. Remove the shifter, because depending upon how high you can lift the body, the shifter might get in the way. So it is probably a good idea to remove that. It's two 13mm bolts front and back. But everything else should be good to go. The steering shaft will go with the body, get lifted up. Deck lid, of course, stays on. Hood stays on. Fenders can stay where they're at. I believe everything is ready to go. Let's just look in the engine compartment and make sure there's nothing precarious in there that's going to fall apart. Nope, you should be able to clear everything that's in there, no problem going straight up. All right, we're looking good. We're looking good. Okay, I'm happy. Rock and roll. All right, going up. Haha. All right, there's the lift. Sucker's pretty heavy, and it doesn't like rolling across dirt because those wheels are little dolly wheels. They're not designed to do that, so it digs in pretty good. Got the body in the position it needs to be. What I need to do is I need to put the 4x4 that goes across the top of this thing. I got it over here, and the same mistake I always make, I always throw this in the backyard somewhere, and it winds up getting left in mud, and then it rots. And currently it doesn't look too bad, but I'll tell you what, it probably won't last more than a few months leaving it out like that. I'll have to put it in a better, drier spot, like perhaps in my shed. That'll be a good spot for it. Okay, now I take that pin that you see here, right there, and that goes in the top of my cherry picker. Goes right in that hole. And then of course from here, start cranking, lift the body up. Real easy stuff after that. I better go get my body dolly, because we're going to need that out here too, and get that into position and get that prepared and ready to go. But yeah, I'm stalling just a little bit, trying to catch my breath. I pulled that thing out here in just one swoop, and I did it pretty quickly, so I kicked my own ass, but I'm trying to beat that sunlight. Yeah, I don't want to be out here while it's dark. Whew, buying some time on the recovery, that's for sure. All right, let's get back to work. Alright, she's up. Uppy, uppy she goes. I didn't want to balance properly. That's the first time I've ever encountered that, but I think it's also the first time I left the steering column in there. But it required a lot more counterbalance than I expected it to. I threw both of those bus hatches in there and a rear brake drum from the Type 3, and that got it balanced. But it's always better to have it straight and balanced. It's a lot easier to work with. Okay, there's my dolly. That needs to go under it next, but not until I get a bunch more photos. Fun times. Ooh, looks like it's starting to slip out of there. Okay, we're gonna have to be very, very delicate because it looks like it's trying to come down. That's not a good thing. That should be straight, and it's not. You know what, I don't think it's going anywhere, because now that I look at it, the arm for the cherry picker is actually touching the B-pillar right there. I don't think it would have dented it. I don't think it's enough pressure. But if it were painted, it probably would have scratched it. All right, we definitely got to get up there and do something about that. All right, very, very delicately, see if we can get this body dolly up underneath this body and get this thing squared away. Figured I should leave this thing recording, because if something stupid happens, like the body falls, I want to have footage of it. All right, the whole thing is crooked. Everything is crooked. This normally doesn't get this off of. Yeah, this is all wonky. Okay, carefully going up. All right, I have to check the time, but I think I did all the work in about an hour, maybe 90 minutes. It should be getting dark not too long from now, so it should be enough time to pick up my tools and get everything put away. And that right there is the reason why I wanted the shifter out. You look at the clearance. And I've got this body up pretty high. Now, had I have not built this dolly quite as high as I did, that shifter never would have cleared the front apron that you see. Okay, we're doing all right. Gonna slide that pan out from under there, and then we're gonna start making some room in the garage and see if we can get the body plus dolly back inside the garage. I think that is just about gonna wrap this up. Got this pan out. Allows me to do some additional suspension work, which I needed to do in the rear. Allows me to do the rear hatch, which I'm going to be installing into the body. It's going to go way back there. behind the back seat area. And you guys have seen me do that already. In fact, there's a flange that's going to be welded in there. So that's going to be some work that's going to happen probably this week, depending upon what the rain does. In here, oh look, these things actually settled and evened themselves out somewhat. It just needed to be rolled back and forth a little bit so it settled. One of them is a little tighter than the other. In fact, the one that is tighter happens to be the passenger side. Now the right hand side is a little bit tighter currently. Now you can see just how dirty everything got when I got caught in the rain at the car show. So this thing was spotless and now it's all covered in dirt. I'm not happy about that. Really, I'm not. Although, you know, when I finally do get this thing on the street and I am finally driving it, it is going to be getting dirty. I might even get caught in the rain once or twice. I really don't want to be rained on, but it's probably going to happen. Looks like I can see in here where a little bit of water sat, and there must have been some metal shavings that caused a little bit of rust. That is where we are at, and I think at this moment I'm overjoyed. So, as always, like, comment, and subscribe. Pluck the little dingle bell you see next to the subscribe button. That way you get updates every time I upload a video. Don't forget Duckman Cycles and VW Garage up on the Facebook group page. And if you'd like to email me, duckmancycles@duckshit.net. We're going to get all this stuff crushed back into the garage. And I do say crushed because, well, it takes a lot of effort to get it all in there to make it fit. But thank you guys for watching. I really do appreciate it. We'll see you next time.